William Jackson Harper just earned his first Emmy nomination for the final season of The Good Place. I'm Kevin Jacobsen of Gold Derby, and let's talk about it. After 4 years of work on this show, you finally get that nomination from your peers. I saw a video of you talking about it on the day, which was an interesting morning for you. Can you talk about all the emotions around that morning for you and just what it meant to get that recognition?
Well, I mean, honestly, like the focus of the morning was honestly, I was more concerned about Chico just because, he hasn't been himself. And this is, meeting with this animal communicator who I call the dog psychic, which feels awfully diminutive and dismissive. And I don't mean that, but I just wanted to try something different, so we could figure out what was going on with him. I knew the nominations were coming out that day, but we've been through this a few times over the last couple of years, and it's one of those things where it's like, it's happening, but it's never. I mean, I'm never thinking my name's gonna be called or I'm gonna be on any list or anything like that. It's more like I think my highest hopes were always just for the show, and maybe like for some of the writing, like that was, I feel like if there's anything that I felt like this is where our show really is doing something weird out of the box and executing it really well. I think it's in terms of the writing and the world that's been crafted. And so I just never really thought that I would be recognized in this way. I just didn't. So I remember actually waking up that day, just doing my little in-house workout, which is like just a real half-ass workout. But like just trying to work out and things clear we could get on this call with the animal communicator. And Michael called me, my publicist called me. It was just like, you got an Emmy nomination! Like, I was in the middle of this, and then I called my mom, and she was like, what? And I was like, I know! And then Darcy called me, but I was on the phone with my mom, and then I was on my phone with my sister, and then she actually got in touch with my girlfriend, and my girlfriend had just gotten out of the shower, was completely naked, and was just like, hello! And then just like took a knee to try to hide her body. It was, the whole thing was just a whirlwind of craziness that morning. And so, it was just nuts. It was completely surreal. And then we had to focus up and try to figure out what was wrong with Chico.
Yeah, it's a lot. um, well, let's talk about this final season. It starts with Chidi having his memory completely wiped, and it's sort of like you're resetting to the beginning of the series in a way. Was it difficult, that process of, as far as playing with your cast but not really having that sense of history in your mind?
Yeah, I feel like that's something that all of us in the cast have had to do at some point. It's happened to me a lot, but it's but yeah, it's like it is weird because you sort of build a chemistry and a sort of shorthand with your scene partners, and it's not that completely has to go away, but you have to just erase the history that informs some of the choices that you've been making over the past several months, and go back to what it was at the beginning when you're just getting to know each other, and what does that actually feel like. And so it's always like super strange to do that. But I think honestly the biggest challenge was not being with the rest of Team Cockroach. I think that was the hardest thing, because we had like these really awesome, like recurring characters that came in for the last season that just totally enriched the world, and they were all awesome and fun to be around. And that was who I was with for pretty much the first half of the season. And it was just sort of odd honestly, it was just hard being with a different group of people while still, doing the same amount of time on set, and that took some adjusting mentally, but thankfully everyone was great, and we all became friends. So it made that transition a lot easier.
Mm-hmm. And one of the episodes that I loved this season was The Answer, which centers on Chidi experiencing his memories of childhood again. And we really see him struggling, as he always has, with this whole idea of every question needs to have this one correct answer. And eventually he does come to understand like that is not true, that questions can have all kinds of answers, or there could be no answer. And it ends with him realizing that Eleanor is the answer. So when you read that script, after everything that Chidi has gone through to get to that place, what were your feelings? What was your reaction to that?
Well, first it was great to be able to go back to the rest of the Soul Squad and kind of hang out with them. That was the thing that I was really excited about, and being able to build on the history that we sort of created with each other. I really loved that the script itself personalized what an answer can be. Because I think landing on something just universal that works for everyone, I think is really tricky territory to wade into. And I think that the fact that Eleanor is Chidi's answer, that's the person, that's the entity, that's the soul that grounds him and guides him where he needs to go. And having that clarity of that moment and was something that was I found it really touching. I just thought it was, I just thought it was just really great, beautiful writing. And I really, I love doing that episode too. It was it was a challenge, and it was a lot of fun to do. It was a lot of fun to just get to play with everybody again, like our old selves.
Well, you are submitting the series finale whenever you're ready to Emmy voters. And what's nice about that, the way the finale plays out, is that you get to be part of so many goodbyes, with Jason and Tahani, and then with Chidi's ending, spending so much time with Eleanor. I mean, you really do get to be a part of so many different endings. What was your emotions as far as shooting that finale and getting to say those goodbyes kind of in waves?
It was tough because we all wrapped at different times, and so like I think actually Jamila was the first us to wrap that episode, and it was tough because it was it's not like she's wrapped for the day. That's it for spending a week at a time with her pretty much all day, 5 days a week. That's going away, and so like going through those very real goodbyes with my castmates really informed a lot of the emotion of that episode for all of us. And and it was like especially like really poignant for me just because it was this show has been such a turning point in my life in general. So to end this chapter is really bittersweet, and so it was it was difficult, but also felt like this is the time to be ending it, this is the way to be ending it, like rather than just the heading off into the sunset and leaving it at, and they spent forever and eternity, and that's all there was to it, is not as interesting to me. It's like even in stories that we tell about, regular human people, connecting, the story ends when they finally connect, but there's a whole lot of story that comes after that. And so the fact that our show went beyond where, usually the story would end, was something that I found like hugely satisfying.
Yeah, well, there's this monologue that Chidi gives to Eleanor to make her feel more at peace with him leaving. And it's about, a wave in the ocean, and it's based on Eastern philosophy. And it's very profound, very moving. And Chidi is at such a specific, calm place in that moment. How do you kind of access that as an actor and be able to deliver that monologue in the way that you do?
Um, I feel like for me, I sometimes I feel like when I'm working, you're in a bit of a maze and you turn a corner and this is the direction that you're going. And, you're certain that you haven't been in this place before, and you're certain that this is the direction that you have to go. You have to at least try this direction first. And so I felt in that monologue in particular, that was a moment where Chidi had really turned a corner, and um, he was really at peace and was 100% certain that he wanted to end. The only thing that he didn't want to end was the time with Eleanor. And so, it's not bad. It's not a sad thing. It's about being complete, being content, being full, and being ready for your time to end. You've done all the things you want to do, and so that was something that was really at play for me. And then I think also I I've actually dealt with death quite a bit in my life, and it was there is a sort of there is a way that I sort of process it that felt very close to what we did, which is, there's always a mourning period. It's obviously it's tough when someone close to you goes away, but having dealt with a number of deaths in my personal life, I I have to say I have to say something to myself in order to not dwell on it as something that's just bad. It's really bad for me, and I mean, I don't want to say goodbye to people like that, but I do think that there's something to thinking about life as something that is fleeting, and we're here for a very short amount of time by any standards. It's like, the universe has been here long before any of us got here, and it will be here long after all of us have gone away. And so there's something about that thought process which brings me a little bit of peace, that it's just a blip. We're just blips. Um and it just helps. It helps me. I mean, I don't know if that helps anyone else, but it helps me process it, and not look at it as something that has to completely shift everything going forward. And so that was sort of, I was playing with those ideas while doing that scene.
Yeah, well, I mean, speaking of saying goodbyes, I mean, I get the sense that Chidi is a character that meant a lot to you. And I'd love to know just what it is that you will miss the most about him, and what's the hardest part of saying goodbye to Chidi?
Well, having a having a mouthpiece for all of my own anxiety is really nice. Having a way to shake that out and to express it is really therapeutic in a lot of ways. Um, I think I'll miss that. Obviously, I'll miss the cast a lot. And this is a moment that sort of kept me on the path for my life in a lot of ways. Like being on The Good Place and working with such good people on material that I really believed in and really enjoyed. Um, this is one of those things that, gave me a little more time in this industry as well. It's something that I've always loved being an actor, and it's the one thing that I feel like I'm, pretty good at. And so, and before this opportunity came to me, I was thinking about giving it up, and just being reassured that good things can happen, and that you can have dreams come true. Like, that's sort of what this whole experience has been for me. So I think just living in that place of having a huge lifelong wish being fulfilled, and having that go away is I'm gonna miss that. I'm gonna miss just being in that moment. But also, it's like I'm taking away the fact that things can happen, and good things can just pop into your life when you least expect them. And it just gave me a little more faith. And so, yeah, I think those are the central things. Also, there's one thing that I've said this in a lot of other interviews, but it's just true for me. There's something that Chidi says in the very first episode or first season. He says, "Principles aren't principles if you pick and choose when you apply them." I'm paraphrasing, but it's something like that. And that's something that I've found myself confronted with several times over the last couple of years. And it's helped me to make decisions that I don't regret. And so I think being on the show always gave me that yearly reminder of that thing. And so I hope that I maintain that going forward, because it's helped me to feel very at peace with some of the decisions I've made since the show.
Wow, that's incredible. I'm glad that you got so much out of that, and I'm just curious now, since you're off of the show, what the future holds for you as far as your future roles, what you're excited about coming up for you. Where can we see some version of Chidi next?
Well, you won't see any versions of Chidi, but I've been able to I've been able to do some projects that I'm really excited about. Underground Railroad. I'm really excited about that. It's a huge departure from the world of The Good Place and from Chidi and all of that. And so I'm really excited for that to come out and for people to see it, because I just believe in the piece so strongly. And then I've done, I did this movie called We Broke Up with an amazing cast, and actually one of our ADs directed it and co-wrote it with another playwright friend of mine. Just Jeff Rosenberg and Laura Jackman wrote it together, and Jeff Rosenberg directed it. So those are the two things that I've done since then that have really taken up a lot of the time post Good Place, and so I'm just excited to see what other things are out there, because I just want to get to play, like I just really want to go as far from Chidi as I can, but it's not because I dislike the parts, because I love the part, but I just want to get better, and I just want to try new things and see what's in my wheelhouse and what isn't,
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you so much for talking to me today, Will. It was always a pleasure. Congrats again on your Emmy nomination. Best of luck with whatever ceremony we get. So thank you.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And for those of you watching, hit like and subscribe for more interviews just like this, and head to goldderby.com to make your winner predictions.